Hello, good afternoon. I'm Coty de Monteverde, and I'm leading the Blockchain Center of Excellence of Santander. Thank you very much for inviting me to participate in this session today. I feel honored for sharing the stage today with so relevant speakers. And I'm going to walk you through what is currently being developed in Spain in terms of digital identity by the private sector using blockchain. And in particularly, I'm going to explain to you what is the Alastria ID standard and how we are using it in the Dalium consortium. So let me share one moment my screen. Okay, can you see my screen? I guess, yes, right? So as I was saying, I'm going to introduce you first what is the Alastria ID standard. And Alastria is the first national non-profit blockchain association in the world. It's multi-sector and has over 500 members, from leading corporates and public institutions to SMEs. And well, it has built a public permission network that has more than 150 nodes right now. Since its foundation, in order to achieve legally binding transactions in this network, Alastria's priority has been building a digital identity mechanism for individuals and corporates. And Santander is one of the founding members of Alastria and is currently sponsoring the Digital Identity Commission, where we have collaborated in designing and developing the Alastria ID model. This model is based on the concept of self-sovereign identity that we've just heard about it, right? It's a decentralized model focused on the user, who is the sole owner of his data and has full control over it. Blockchain is one of the alternatives to implement a self-sovereign identity solution, but with the use of this technology, we maximize transparency and security, two features that we've heard a lot today as well. So here, cryptography allows the possibility of signing and verifying the origin of the credentials without needing a third party. When registering in blockchain the hashes of the credentials, as well as all the events regarding their issuance, presentation, and revocation, we are assuring that they cannot be altered, making it GDPR compliant and being completely user-centric. This system as well does not need any third parties that act as intermediaries and who can read or use our personal data. So the most obvious benefit is privacy. And instead of having our critical pieces of personal information everywhere, stored at dozens, if not hundreds of different locations, the information remains with the individual. And the individual, in this case, is the only entity with the authorization to disclose or allow access to sensitive information, and also controls the level and duration of external access. So, Alastria ID. This model was designed by the Alastria Identity Commission in an open source format. It has been contributed by more than 200 members over the last 2 years. And in terms of standards and regulation, this model has inspired the European Commission in the design of the European Digital Identity Model called ESIF, and their EFSI, the European Blockchain Services Infrastructure. It has been recently approved as a formal standard by the Spanish standardization body. It's called UNE, and it has also been elevated to other standardization organizations like the European CENELEC. It is compliant with EIDAS, and it also follows the W33 standards regarding verifiable credentials and decentralized identifiers. So let me tell you how it works. So as you can see in this diagram, in the Alastria ID model, and therefore in the one implemented by the Dalium project, there are three main actors that interact between each other. First, the citizens in the center that manage their own data in a secure, reliable, and transparent way using a mobile wallet. We've been talking about mobile phones for a while as well. So it is also very important for us the security of these devices, HSMs, SIMs that can be used in our solution as well. So in this way, the user here can control his credentials and decide with what service providers they want to share them, with what purpose, and for how long. Secondly, we have the issuers, that are trusted entities that issue credentials about users. Credentials can contain any type of personal information, from bank account numbers to university diplomas. Depending on the type of entity and the information provided, credentials have a level of assurance that it's aligned with EIDAS. Also, users can issue self-attested credentials that are labeled with the lowest assurance level. The third role is a service provider. In order to provide a service to the user, for example, car sharing, an entity can request the user to share his credentials, but always the user has to give his consent. These credentials are shared off-chain via secure communication channels, but its content is never stored in the blockchain. So no personal information is stored on the blockchain. What is being stored in the blockchain is the actions that are performed on those credentials, such as the issuance, the registration, the request of those credentials, and they are always encrypted using a double hash mechanism. So privacy and no traceability of the user activity is guaranteed. You can see in the diagram below, these are real hashes of credentials, and it's impossible to know what they are talking about, and they are not, there's no way to decipher them. This model is also providing a one-click data revocation process, and that revocation is going to be stored in the blockchain. So the user can prove that he asked for that revocation of the data. And now if we get to Dalion, the Dalion project, it is a collaborative project that was ideated by several members of Alastria with the aim of putting into practice the model that I have just described. So Dalion complements the work performed in Alastria, adding new technical elements needed to operate, like the wallet and the necessary pieces to integrate business applications with the blockchain. Currently, we are 9 companies of different sectors working together. In the coming days, we will be 10, and we are super open to welcome new members to join us and enrich our ecosystem. We also have the honor to count with observers from the Spanish public administration, as we believe that including both private and public sectors is the way to enable sufficient scale of adoption of a digital ID system. Our project started back in 2019. In July last year, we delivered a proof of concept that demonstrated its technical viability, and now we are in the process of delivering a production-grade MVP with the objective of piloting it before summer. I've brought some of the screens of a proof of concept that we performed in order to show you how this would work in a very summarized way. So in this example, a non-customer of Santander wants to ask for a consumer loan. This process traditionally requires verifying a lot of information and documents. Here we have a button saying, use Alastair ID. It would be included, so it would redirect the user to his identity wallet and would ask him to share certain credentials that have been previously validated by other entities. The user would give his consent for the bank accessing that information, making the process faster and simpler. Customers would benefit from a better user experience, and companies would have more efficient onboarding processes. So that's all from my side, and I'm very happy to answer any questions you might have about this standard and this project.